Many of you know that I met my husband online and that I adore him. He is my heart. He's my soul. He's my everything. But what a lot of you don't know is that I almost didn't marry him. And the reason is because I had been abused in my first marriage by my first husband. He tried to kill me on our wedding night. He crashed a car into the back of a U-Haul truck, and it broke my leg in several places and scraped me up pretty bad. I had amnesia about that particular incident for a while. I didn't remember what had happened, or I probably would never have stayed with him. After that, I was beaten pretty regularly for the 2 years that I stayed with him. 2.5 years I lived with him. But I was also emotionally abused. I was called lots of names, and the threat of violence was really more painful than the actual violence itself, because it was just being scared all the time. I just remember being terrified all the time. And I kept thinking, if I could just keep the house cleaner, or make the dinner better, or, just do something better. Just, if I could just change, that somehow, I wouldn't be hurt anymore, and then he would, love me like he said he would, or did. But of course there was nothing I could do to change anything, because I may have had some problems, but that wasn't my biggest problem. It was his problems that caused him to lash out, and I was the target most of the time. I can tell you that I put up with it for 2.5 years, thinking that I might be able to make him see that I loved him. 2 children and 1 miscarriage, which was caused mostly by him throwing me up against a wall. So throwing people up against a wall can result in damage. When I went in the hospital to have my son, I told him that if he touched me in a violent way after I came back, that I would leave him the first time it happened. And for once, I did what I told him I was going to do. I'm sure he'd never believed that I would, have the nerve to do it, but I did. I left with the car, our clothes, the stuff for the babies, and pretty much very little else. I got my dad and my brothers to help me get a few things that, I needed, pots and pans and things like that. I basically left with mostly nothing. I had a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old when I left, and with some help from my family and from, interested friends and concerned people, I was able to pull myself up and get myself a job with some health benefits and things eventually, and raise my kids by myself. And I basically lived myself, my kids, and my cats for about 16 years before I met Gregory. And then when we started talking about being together more, I told him that I'd live with him forever, but I didn't want to marry him because I was still very damaged from that, even after all that time. And I didn't know if I could trust anyone enough to allow them that much hold over me again. And he said it was marriage or nothing. And I had a lot to think about when he said that, because I was still so very, very frightened even 16 years later, even though he's a wonderful person. But, you know, I married him. It was the best decision I ever made. He's done a lot just by being his own self to help heal me, but I still suffer from PTSD from that time in my life. I still get frightened very easily, especially when people are angry. And so all this is to say that because Gregory and I had met on the internet, we were very supportive of Katz and Nate at the beginning, and we did a lot to try to help them raise money so that she could go to Australia. Gregory made a caricature and sold it on eBay, and the money was donated to that cause. And we stayed in touch with them. We corresponded and everything. So we were also contacted when Katz was hurt. She emailed us a copy of the video, also emailed us the information that she gave to Pippi, and the same thing, if anything happened to her, that we were to, release it. I mean, she was so frightened, and it sent me into such a tailspin, because I was feeling her feelings. I knew what she was going through. I knew how frightened and scared she was. She felt trapped. And she was really a lot more trapped than I ever was, because she was so far away in a foreign country. She had her school friends and stuff like that, but that's not the same thing as having people around you who you've grown up with. So I could really relate to her, and I really felt for her, and I was one of the ones saying, get the hell out of there. And we told her we would, help her monetarily or any other way. She refused our offer to help pay for an airline ticket so she could get out right away. She wanted to stay and finish her master's, understandably so. We said, we'll help you get out of that apartment at least so that you can live on your own. She refused. She would not take any money from us. She, found some friends that she could stay with. I know that several times she stayed at school. And now she's safe and home, but she's still hurt. She's still damaged. She's still afraid. And I understand that. I was afraid for 16 years. 16 years I stayed by myself. And it took an extraordinary man to get me to trust somebody enough to give them my heart again. And I know that there's someone like that in her future. But for now, she has our support. She has our love. And we're there. We're there for her. I just wanted to go ahead and make this because, I'm not a huge, big old popular YouTuber like Pippi and some of the other folks that have made videos. So that it's not like just the big, important, popular, well-subscribed YouTubers. It was other people who are maybe a little bit smaller on the community, maybe a little bit quieter, but still know what happened. And so I'm a witness, and I understand. And I'm still here for you cats. Take care.